Today, at age when life feels quieter and the days seem to pass more gently, there's a deeper wisdom that starts to unfold within us. As we move through the later stages of life, something inside begins to shift, and we find ourselves reflecting on the journey we've taken. Especially when it comes to our children. We remember those sleepless nights, the laughter, the tears, the milestones, and the sacrifices we made to shape the lives of those we love most. There's no denying that as parents, our hearts are intertwined with the well-being of our children, often making it feel as though our happiness is inextricably linked to theirs. But here's something important we need to talk about today. Not every thought, every emotion, or every concern needs to be shared with them as we grow older. As much as our bond with our children is sacred, filled with love and memories, we must remember that there's a fine balance to maintain. The closer we come to our golden years, the more essential it becomes to carefully choose what we say to them. Some things are best left unspoken. Why? Because there's an emotional weight that comes with certain truths, burdens, and regrets. And as much as our children love us, they too have their own lives to navigate. Now, we're not saying you should withdraw or hide away from sharing your life with your children. Absolutely not. But what we're talking about today is the subtle art of knowing when to hold back, when to allow silence to speak louder than words, and how to foster stronger, healthier relationships through thoughtful restraint. Life has a way of teaching us that sometimes the greatest gift we can offer our children is peace of mind, not the weight of our past or the worries of our future. Before we dive deeper into this important conversation, we want to encourage you to take a moment to reflect. Have you ever found yourself wondering if certain things are better left unsaid? If so, you're not alone. And that's exactly why we're here today. If you find value in what we're discussing, don't forget to like this video, share it with others who may need these insights, and of course, subscribe to our channel for more valuable content. We're all about creating meaningful conversations that help you live your later years with greater peace, happiness, and fulfillment. So let's explore together how to nurture these family dynamics, not with every word spoken, but with the wisdom that comes from knowing when to simply be present in silence. 1. Avoid blaming your parents for your circumstances. Everybody will become older one day. We know it. And as your age advances, there's something that becomes undeniably clear. Your physical strength may not be what it once was. Your memory might falter a little more, and the days may feel like they slip by faster. Yet in this stage of life, you have something far more valuable than youthful energy. You carry wisdom, years of experience, lessons learned, and stories lived. But with that wisdom, there's a key lesson we must never overlook. Don't blame your parents for your circumstances. It's natural to reflect on the past as you age, thinking about where you've been and how you got here. Some people look back and find themselves frustrated, believing their lives could have been better if their parents had made different choices. Thoughts like, if only my father had worked harder, or if my mother had been more ambitious, I would have had a better start in life, often creep in. But the truth is, dwelling on these thoughts does nothing for your present and even less for your future. When we hold on to that blame, it becomes a burden we carry into our relationships, especially with our children. Imagine telling your child, I could have done more if only my parents had done more for me. What you may not realize is that this can plant seeds of resentment in your child's heart. They might start looking at your life and wondering why you didn't do more for them. And so the cycle of blame begins, passing from generation to generation. But let's pause for a moment and consider something important. Every generation faces its own set of challenges. Our parents, with all their imperfections, were dealing with circumstances we might never fully understand. They were doing the best they could with what they knew and the resources available to them. And now, as we stand in their shoes, older, hopefully wiser, we can see how complex life's decisions really are. Blaming them for what they couldn't control robs us of the peace that comes from accepting the past. It keeps us stuck in old grievances, turning our focus backward instead of allowing us to move forward. And what happens when we stay stuck in that resentment? We lose the joy that can be found in the present, and we miss the opportunity to take control of our own lives. One of the most liberating things you can do as you age is to let go of that blame. Forgiveness, both of others and yourself, is a powerful gift. When you choose to forgive, you free yourself from the chains of bitterness that weigh down your heart. You no longer have to carry the burdens of the past, and in that freedom, you create space for peace, joy, and gratitude. It's important to remember that life is not a series of perfect choices or ideal circumstances. It's filled with struggles, mistakes, and moments of uncertainty. Your parents, like you, were navigating life the best they could. Holding on to resentment against them for not living up to some ideal standard prevents you from embracing the beauty of your own journey. And there's something else to consider. When you model forgiveness and understanding toward your parents, you set an example for your children. You teach them that life isn't about assigning blame or holding on to grudges. Instead, it's about finding grace, letting go, and focusing on what truly matters: love, relationships, and the moments we share together. Blaming your parents won't change the past, but it will absolutely impact your future. When you let go of that blame, you gain something much more valuable: control over your own life. You begin to see that your happiness, your fulfillment, and your peace are within your hands. And as you age, that sense of ownership becomes even more important. This phase of life isn't about looking back with regret. It's about looking forward with hope and possibility. And when you free yourself from the blame, you open yourself up to new experiences, deeper connections, and a greater sense of fulfillment. It's about enjoying the years you have ahead and making the most of the time you share with those you love. Our parents gave us life, but the life we live is ours to shape. When we forgive them for their shortcomings, we give ourselves the gift of freedom. We allow ourselves to focus on the present and the future, instead of getting trapped in the past. And isn't that what life is all about? Moving forward, learning, growing, and finding joy in the moments we have. Peace comes from acceptance. Let go of the need to blame and embrace the opportunity to live fully in the present. This is your life, your journey, and the story is still being written. You have the power to make it a story of peace, forgiveness, and joy. One that your children and their children will remember, not for its hardships, but for its grace. Take responsibility for your happiness and let forgiveness be your guide. In doing so, you'll not only improve your own life, but you'll also leave a legacy of love and understanding for the generations that follow. And that, more than anything else, is the true key to living a happy life as you age. Imagine this. Paul is a man in his 60s. He's sitting at a family gathering, looking around the room at his children, grandchildren, and extended family. But instead of feeling joy, he's holding on to a deep sense of frustration. In his mind, he keeps thinking, if my father had been more ambitious, I would have had a better start in life. Maybe I could have gone to college. Maybe I'd have a better job now. Maybe things would be different. Now, Paul never said these things out loud to his children, but they could sense something was wrong. Over the years, Paul has made little comments, small hints about how life didn't turn out the way he had hoped. His kids, growing up hearing these hints, began to wonder if maybe Paul also had regrets about the choices he made for them. Did he think he could have done more for them? Could he have provided better opportunities if he had had a better start? Fast forward to the present, and now Paul's own son John sits across the room, feeling that same pressure. He wonders if his dad looks at him with the same sense of disappointment. John starts to question whether he's doing enough for his own kids. He begins to feel guilty, thinking, maybe I should be working harder, saving more, doing more for them. And this is where the cycle of blame starts to grow, without anyone even realizing it. Paul's frustration with his own father is now influencing how John feels about his own life and responsibilities. But what if Paul, instead of silently blaming his father for how his life turned out, chose to forgive and let go of that burden? What if he embraced the idea that his father did the best he could with what he had, in a time where opportunities were different? Imagine a different scene. Paul, now older and wiser, gathers his family around, and instead of hinting at disappointments from the past, he shares a story of forgiveness. He tells John, there were times when I blamed my father for not giving me a better start. But as I've grown older, I've realized he did what he could. And honestly, I'm responsible for where I am today. And I want you to know that I'm proud of the man you've become. John, hearing these words, feels a weight lift from his shoulders. Instead of feeling that pressure to live up to unspoken expectations, he feels reassured. Paul's forgiveness of his own father frees John from the burden of carrying forward those same feelings of inadequacy. And now, a new legacy begins. A legacy of acceptance, of peace, and of responsibility. Paul's decision to stop blaming the past, to stop holding on to resentment, changes everything for his family. It shifts the atmosphere from one of quiet disappointment to one of open love and understanding. It's not that Paul's life suddenly becomes perfect, far from it. But by letting go of the blame, he's no longer tied to those old grievances. He's free to live the rest of his years with a lighter heart and a clearer mind. This is the power of choosing forgiveness over blame. Paul's story, like so many of ours, shows how easily resentment can seep into our lives and relationships without us even realizing it. But it also shows the beauty of what can happen when we decide to let go, to forgive, and to take responsibility for our own happiness. Paul's shift in perspective not only changes his own life, but also the lives of his children and grandchildren. Instead of passing down a cycle of blame, he passes down a lesson in grace. He becomes the example of how to age with dignity, not by looking back with regret, but by moving forward with understanding. So when you think about your own life, your own story, ask yourself this: are you still holding on to blame for things that happened years ago? Are there moments where you feel like life didn't turn out the way you hoped because of decisions others made? And if so, is that blame holding you back from truly living and enjoying the present? 2. Never speak ill of your spouse. And next, please never speak ill of your spouse. This point holds an incredible weight, especially in the later stages of life when relationships have stood the test of time. As you grow older, you have shared countless memories, faced hardships, celebrated victories, and navigated the ups and downs that only a long-term relationship can bring. It is understandable that over the years, you may have built up frustrations, moments of disappointment, or even unresolved conflicts. However, bringing these grievances to light, particularly in front of your children or grandchildren, can be deeply damaging. When you speak negatively about your spouse, especially to your family, it does more than just air your frustrations. It introduces a subtle but powerful tension into your children's lives. Whether they are young or fully grown adults, they look up to you both as role models. Criticizing your spouse, even in seemingly minor ways, can create emotional conflict for them. It puts them in a difficult position where they may feel the need to take sides, or worse, where they question the very foundation of the family they grew up in. Your spouse is not just your life partner. They are a part of your children's identity, the other half of the parenting equation that shaped who they are. By speaking ill of your spouse, you risk not only damaging their perception of your relationship, but also impacting how they view relationships as a whole. Children, Even as adults, learn from your example. If they see you approach your spouse with kindness, respect, and understanding, they are more likely to mirror those behaviors in their own lives. We want to emphasize the importance of grace and understanding. After years together, it's easy to focus on the small grievances. But what truly strengthens a family is a commitment to respect, patience, and empathy. When you choose to highlight the good qualities of your spouse, even in the face of frustration, you are teaching your children a powerful lesson: that love is not about perfection, but about choosing kindness and respect, especially when it is difficult. Remember, too, that your children are forming their own perspectives on love, marriage, and commitment. They are watching how you navigate the later years of life, learning from your behavior, and internalizing the values you display. By speaking kindly of your spouse, you offer them a model of what it means to remain committed through the challenges of life. You are showing them that the foundation of a strong relationship lies not in the absence of conflict, but in how you handle that conflict, with dignity and respect. Think of the legacy you want to leave behind. Long after you are gone, your children will carry with them the memories of how you treated your spouse. Do you want those memories to be filled with bitterness and complaints? Or would you rather they remember you as someone who showed grace, even in moments of difficulty? This is not just about preserving your relationship with your spouse in old age. It's about shaping the emotional and psychological well-being of your family for generations to come. When you find yourself frustrated or disappointed, it's important to take a step back. Ask yourself whether the words you are about to speak will bring healing or harm. Will they draw your family closer together or create unnecessary divides? Words have power, and in your later years, the influence you wield over your family is significant. Use that influence to build bridges, not walls. By choosing to speak positively, or at the very least neutrally, about your spouse, you reinforce the bonds of love and respect that have held your family together. Your children will carry those lessons into their own relationships, and you will have left a legacy of love, patience, and kindness. Number 3. Do not compare your children to each other. In our life, the thing we should not or never do to avoid problems is to not compare your child to their sibling or any other child. We understand how natural it is to feel the urge to make these comparisons, especially when one child seems to excel more in certain areas, whether it's academics, behavior, or responsibilities. But the reality is that this comparison creates unnecessary tension, not just between you and the child, but also between siblings. It builds walls where there should be understanding and connection, feeding into rivalry that can harm both children emotionally in ways that may linger for years. This is not a lesson in competition, but in nurturing individuality. The consequences often run deeper than we realize. The child who receives praise may begin to feel an immense pressure to maintain their position in your eyes. They may start to believe that their value is tied solely to their ability to outperform their sibling, which can lead to anxiety and perfectionism. On the other hand, the child who feels constantly criticized will begin to internalize the belief that they are somehow less capable, less deserving, and less loved. Over time, these seeds of comparison can grow into deep-rooted insecurities that affect how they view themselves and their relationship with each other. One of the most important things we can do as parents, caregivers, or even as supportive figures in a child's life is to honor and celebrate each child's uniqueness. Every child has their own journey, their own strengths, and their own challenges. Instead of measuring them against one another, we must recognize that they are not competing in the same race. By doing so, we create an environment where each child feels seen for who they truly are, without the burden of comparison hanging over them. This is where true growth and confidence can flourish. We want to emphasize that genuine praise, when given thoughtfully, becomes a powerful tool in nurturing a child's self-worth. But this praise should be rooted in their individual efforts and character, not in how they stack up against a sibling or peer. When we focus on their personal achievements, whether big or small, we allow them to build a sense of self that is independent of others. This kind of support encourages resilience, teaching children that their value is inherent and not reliant on external validation or comparison. It's crucial to remember that fostering a sense of security in a child is not just about what we say, but how we say it. Words carry weight, and children are incredibly sensitive to the tone, intention, and frequency of our comments. We must be mindful to speak words that build them up, words that show them they are valued for who they are, not for who they are in relation to someone else. This is where emotional intelligence begins, by teaching them to appreciate their own journey and respect the journey of others. As these children grow, they carry these early lessons into adulthood. The way we handle their individuality now shapes how they will handle challenges in their personal and professional lives later on. A child who grows up feeling appreciated for who they are, without the pressure of comparison, will be more confident in their decisions, more compassionate toward others, and more resilient in the face of setbacks. They will understand that success is not measured by someone else's standards, but by their own ability to overcome obstacles with courage and grace. When we create a household where comparison is avoided, we foster healthier sibling relationships. Rather than rivalry, siblings can grow to become each other's greatest allies. They will learn to appreciate each other's strengths and differences, to support one another rather than compete. In doing so, we lay the foundation for lifelong bonds built on mutual respect, understanding, and love. That, in the end, is one of the greatest gifts we can give them. 4. Don't dwell on the negative aspects of life. Dwelling on the negative aspects of life can feel all too easy, especially as you grow older. But let's take a moment to reflect on something very important. No matter what age we reach, life will always present its fair share of challenges. These may come in the form of health issues, financial burdens, or emotional struggles. However, the real challenge lies not in those hardships themselves, but in how much mental space we give them. You see, it's not the events that shape our lives, but the way we choose to interpret and respond to them. If we spend too much time ruminating on the negative, we allow it to overshadow the beauty that still exists in our lives, and that affects not only our well-being, but also the happiness of those we love, especially our children and grandchildren. Mindset plays a significant role in how we navigate the later stages of life. As you grow older, you may feel that some of life's burdens weigh heavier than before. And while that's a natural part of aging, what's also true is that the power to change how you feel lies in how you choose to see those burdens. Think about it for a moment. How often have you faced difficult situations only to later realize that they helped shape who you are today? These challenges, though painful at times, carry within them the seeds of personal growth and transformation. When we approach life with this understanding, we stop seeing problems as merely obstacles and begin viewing them as opportunities to demonstrate resilience, wisdom, and strength. And by doing so, you not only uplift yourself, but also set an inspiring example for those who look up to you. Gratitude is another powerful force that can help shift this mindset. In the rush of life, we often forget how transformative gratitude can be. Even as we age, there are always reasons to be thankful, whether it's the warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of your grandchildren's laughter, or the sense of fulfillment from a life filled with meaningful experiences. These moments, small as they may seem, carry immense power to uplift the spirit. And when you make a habit of focusing on them, you create an atmosphere of positivity that others can feel too. Your children and grandchildren, for instance, will notice how you approach life's ups and downs. They'll observe that you aren't consumed by difficulties, but instead choose to find joy and meaning, even in the face of adversity. This approach not only enriches your life, but leaves a lasting impact on the generations who follow. Life is never all hardship or all joy. It's a balance of both. Acknowledging that duality allows us to live a life of greater fulfillment. There's no denying that aging brings its own set of challenges, but it also offers a deeper understanding of life's nuances. As you share stories with your children or grandchildren, you have a choice. Will you dwell on your aches and pains, or will you speak of the joys you've experienced along the way? The latter creates a legacy far more valuable than any material inheritance, because it teaches them that life, even with its difficulties, is something to embrace. By focusing on what's good, you give them a roadmap for navigating their own challenges with grace and gratitude. The ripple effect of your mindset. Your outlook on life doesn't exist in isolation. It profoundly influences those around you. When you fixate on the negative, it can create an environment of stress and tension, especially in your relationships. On the other hand, choosing to highlight the positive creates a sense of peace and joy that spreads to those you interact with. This doesn't mean ignoring your struggles or pretending they don't exist. Instead, it's about refusing to let them define your life. By consciously deciding to focus on what brings you joy, you cultivate an atmosphere where positivity can thrive, and this, in turn, benefits everyone around you. Consider this. How do you want to be remembered by your loved ones? As someone who allowed life's difficulties to weigh them down, or as someone who found reasons to smile even in the face of hardship? Your legacy isn't just about what you leave behind financially or materially. It's about the emotional and mental example you set. When your children think of you, wouldn't you want them to remember your strength, your ability to find joy, and your unwavering resilience? These are the qualities that endure far beyond anything tangible. Aging is not the end of growth. In fact, it often brings the most profound lessons because it gives us the perspective to see life in a more meaningful way. When we stop focusing on the negative and instead turn our attention to what truly matters, love, connection, and the simple joys, we open ourselves up to a richness that far exceeds any physical limitation. This isn't just about making your own life better. It's about showing those around you that life can still be full of beauty, even in its later stages. The choice is always in your hands. Will you allow the inevitable difficulties to overshadow the blessings that remain? Or will you focus on what is good, teaching those around you that every stage of life, no matter how challenging, can still be filled with joy and gratitude? We believe the latter is the more empowering choice. By embracing gratitude and seeing both the joys and hardships as part of a larger, meaningful experience, you create a life that is not only fulfilling for you, but also serves as a beacon of hope and positivity for the generations that follow. It's this mindset, one of resilience, optimism, and gratitude, that will leave a lasting legacy far more valuable than any material possession. 5. Do not depend financially on your children. After retiring, many people unexpectedly encounter financial difficulties they never anticipated. In these situations, some might naturally turn to their children for support, hoping they can step in and offer assistance. However, it's crucial to recognize that relying on your children financially can introduce challenges into your relationship that extend far beyond money. The ability to grant your children the freedom to live their own lives without feeling obligated to take on your financial responsibilities is one of the greatest gifts you can give. This isn't about refusing help or being too proud. It's about safeguarding the love and mutual respect that define the parent-child connection. When we depend too heavily on our children for financial support, we often fail to realize how it affects the dynamic between us. They may not tell you directly, but they could be juggling numerous responsibilities, careers, families, mortgages, and their own financial goals. Adding the expectation that they must also take care of you can strain their capacity to manage it all, and it's not something to take lightly. Of course, it's absolutely fine to accept help when necessary, but there's a critical difference between occasional assistance and becoming a financial burden on them. This is why preparing for your financial future is so important. Even though retirement signifies stepping away from work, it doesn't mean you should abandon the need for careful financial planning. In fact, it's more essential than ever. Ensuring you have enough saved, investing wisely, or consulting with financial experts can help you maintain your autonomy. Autonomy is not just about managing your own finances. It's about preserving your dignity, your ability to make decisions on your terms, and most importantly, not feeling dependent on anyone else. That freedom is priceless. There will likely be moments when accepting financial assistance from your children becomes necessary due to unexpected circumstances. Life is unpredictable, and you may need help, and that's okay. But when those moments come, communication is key. Be open with your children about the situation. Make sure they understand the context of your needs without pressuring them or making them feel cornered. It's vital to respect their boundaries, as they have their own lives to manage. The aim is for any help they provide to come from a place of love and care, not out of a sense of duty or obligation. When love is the motivator, it strengthens the bond between you. When obligation is involved, it can weaken the foundation of your relationship. What we've observed over time is that when children feel a constant financial responsibility for their parents, they often experience a heavy emotional toll. Many feel torn between wanting to help their parents and the necessity of maintaining their own family and personal goals. This inner conflict, if left unaddressed, can lead to feelings of frustration and even resentment. Once resentment starts to creep in, it slowly erodes the relationship you've spent years building. By being mindful of this, you can prevent that tension from growing and ensure that your relationship with your children remains strong and loving. It's essential to understand that this isn't about refusing your children's support. It's about creating a balanced relationship where any help they provide is given willingly, not because they feel they have no other choice. This balance is vital for maintaining the health and integrity of your family dynamic. It allows your children to live their own lives freely while still offering their love and care when it's genuinely needed. Planning ahead and securing your financial future also sets a powerful example for your children. By managing your resources wisely, you're showing them the importance of being prepared and responsible. You teach them to look ahead and plan for their own lives with the same kind of thoughtfulness. This lesson is one of the most valuable legacies you can leave, and it goes far beyond money. Maintaining your financial independence also ensures that the conversations you have with your children are meaningful and free from stress. Your interactions will be rooted in love, support, and shared experiences, rather than being dominated by financial concerns. When finances become a regular point of discussion, it detracts from the deeper connections you want to nurture as you both grow older. Even in retirement, your role as a parent continues to evolve. Your children will look to you for wisdom, guidance, and support in navigating their own lives. By taking care of your financial needs, you maintain the ability to lead by example and demonstrate what it means to age with grace, resilience, and dignity. You continue to provide valuable life lessons that your children can learn from and carry with them throughout their lives. One of the most precious gifts you can offer your children is the freedom to focus on their own lives without the additional burden of having to support you financially. It doesn't mean they won't be there for you. It just means that when they are, it's out of pure love, not obligation. By being proactive, planning for your retirement, and ensuring you have the resources to live comfortably, you're protecting the beautiful, loving relationship you have with your children. Remember that aging is not just about getting older. It's about continuing to grow, evolve, and strengthen the relationships that matter most to us. By securing your financial independence, you allow your children to flourish, and in turn, you preserve the love, respect, and joy that come with being a family. That's the legacy you want to leave behind, one of love, not burden. 6. Do not disclose every health struggle. For you, what's the most important in your old age? Your health, absolutely. But let's think about how you choose to talk about it with others, especially with those closest to you, your children. Now, we're not saying you should keep everything to yourself. In fact, sharing critical health information is essential because your children need to know when something serious is happening. However, constantly sharing every little struggle, every ache or pain, can have a different effect. It's natural to want to lean on your loved ones when life feels tough, but we need to find the right balance, don't we? When you regularly share every single health issue with your children, it can become emotionally overwhelming for them. They care deeply about you, and every time they hear about a new struggle, it's as if they're carrying that burden alongside you. We often underestimate how much worry we might be placing on their shoulders. Even though it's unintentional, their concern can gradually turn into anxiety, and that can strain your relationship over time. Do we want them to feel that constant stress every time they hear from us? There's wisdom in learning when to share and when to hold back. As we grow older, health concerns become more frequent, but not every struggle needs to be a topic of conversation. Think about the impact on your children's mental and emotional state. Are we giving them space to enjoy time with us, or are we unintentionally pulling them into a cycle of worry and stress? This is where a sense of discretion becomes invaluable. It's not about secrecy, it's about being considerate of their emotional well-being. We should focus on sharing significant health updates when necessary. By all means, be open about the important things, situations that might require their support or awareness. But in those everyday aches and pains, can we find the strength to bear them with a positive outlook? What happens when we allow our conversations with our children to revolve around love, connection, and the joy of being together, rather than constantly revisiting health concerns? That shift can make a world of difference in maintaining a healthy, balanced relationship. It's crucial to remember that your children are not just your caregivers. They're your partners in life, your companions. When every conversation is dominated by health struggles, the dynamic starts to shift. It can feel like the relationship is becoming more about caretaking than connection. Let's give them the gift of your presence, the joy of being in your company, without the constant reminder of your ailments. That doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing what we share wisely. Maintaining a positive outlook is key. We're not saying to bottle everything up or hide what you're going through. That's not healthy either. But when we approach life's difficulties with a resilient mindset, it sets an example for our children. They'll see that even as you face challenges, you're not letting them define your interactions with others. And that teaches them something profound about strength and grace in the face of adversity. Think of it this way. When you reserve discussions of your health struggles for the moments that truly matter, those conversations carry more weight. They'll understand the significance when you choose to open up. In contrast, if every little issue is discussed, it becomes harder for them to gauge the true severity of a situation. We're helping them by filtering out the noise, so to speak. Our relationship with our children should be centered on love and connection, not on caregiving and concern. It's so easy to fall into a pattern where every interaction feels weighed down by health updates. But what if we shifted the focus back to enjoying each other's company? To reminiscing, sharing stories, laughing together? That's where the richness of life truly lies. In those moments of connection that go beyond the physical. So, ask yourself, how do you want your children to remember your time together? Do you want them to see you as someone who's constantly struggling, or as someone who, despite the struggles, remained full of life, laughter, and positivity? By being mindful of what we share, we're not just protecting them, we're enriching the relationship itself. Ultimately, your health is important, and so is the way you share it with those around you. Being open about your experiences when it matters allows for deeper, more meaningful connections, while also sparing your loved ones from unnecessary emotional strain. Let's focus on preserving the essence of love, warmth, and companionship, allowing your relationship to flourish without the constant shadow of worry. In the end, that balance between honesty and discretion becomes a gift you give to both yourself and your children. 7. Always encourage their independence. The greatest gifts we can give our children is the freedom to live their own lives without guilt or obligation. Now that might sound simple, but think about the depth behind that statement. As parents, it's natural to want to stay close to our children, especially as we get older. We feel that pull to hold on tightly, to stay involved in their lives. But true love, the kind that nurtures, is the kind that lets them go freely. It's about showing them that we trust them enough to make their own choices, to follow their own path, even if that means they are not always by our side. When we allow them to live without the pressure of constant involvement, we communicate something far more valuable than words. We say, "We believe in you, and we trust that you can handle life on your own terms." That trust is a cornerstone of any strong relationship. It tells your children that they are not just your responsibility, but also fully capable individuals, able to stand tall without feeling obligated to fulfill your needs or expectations. It's not easy, though. It's a balancing act. There's a part of us that craves that closeness, that familiar connection, especially as we age. But sometimes the closeness we think we need may actually be a form of holding them back. Instead of letting our love suffocate them with demands, we need to give them the room to explore, grow, and sometimes make their own mistakes. That freedom is essential. It shows them that they are not tethered by our wants, but are free to build a life that reflects who they truly are. Think about how liberating it is for them to know that they don't have to constantly seek your approval or be tied down by your expectations. That relief allows them to build their own identity without the weight of guilt. It's in this space, free from obligation, that they flourish the most. They'll take on challenges with confidence because they know they have your support in the background without the fear of letting you down. And when they succeed, they'll know it was their own achievement, not because they were fulfilling a role you had in mind for them. We often forget that respect is the foundation of every relationship, even between parents and children. By respecting their choices and supporting them without trying to control or direct every move, we foster a deeper, more meaningful connection. A connection that isn't about being present at every moment, but about being there when it truly matters. And it's this kind of respect that allows both you and your children to grow as individuals. As time goes on, we all evolve. When our children are young, they rely on us for everything, from guidance to protection. But as they mature, our roles change. We transition from being their protectors to being their advisors, from guiding them closely to stepping back and allowing them to lead their own lives. It's in this letting go that we discover the true beauty of parenthood. Your children don't need you to make every decision for them. They need you to trust that they can navigate life with the values and wisdom you've instilled in them. And yes, they will stumble. They will face challenges, and there will be moments when they feel lost. But those are the experiences that shape them. As much as we want to shield them from pain or failure, it's through those very moments that they grow stronger. By giving them the space to face life head-on, without feeling like they have to solve everything with you in mind, you allow them to develop resilience, something far more valuable than a constant safety net. When we give our children the freedom to live without obligation, something remarkable happens. They come back to us, not out of duty, but out of love. They return not because they feel they have to, but because they want to. And that kind of connection is far deeper than anything forced by expectations. When your children choose to spend time with you, those moments are filled with genuine love, not obligation. They come back to share their lives with you, to celebrate their milestones, and to reconnect on their own terms, making those interactions so much more meaningful. So as we move forward in our roles as parents, let's remember that one of the greatest acts of love we can give our children is the space to breathe, to live, and to thrive independently. It's not about losing them. It's about watching them soar. And when they do, they'll always know that you're there, cheering them on, but never weighing them down. This is the balance that creates lasting, healthy relationships, ones built on love, trust, and the freedom to simply be themselves. At the end of the day, the most profound legacy we can leave our children is the gift of independence. It's not in how close we keep them, but in how freely we allow them to live. By giving them this gift, we're not only shaping their future, but we're also ensuring that our relationship with them is built on mutual respect, understanding, and love that knows no bounds. And in that freedom, they will find their strength, and in our trust, they will find their confidence. And that is the most beautiful thing any parent can hope for. Have you ever wondered how much power lies in the things we don't say? As we age, the weight of our silence can often speak louder than any words we could express. Choosing to hold back certain criticisms or complaints allows us to nurture deeper connections and preserve the harmony in our relationships. When we choose silence over conflict, we're giving our children the space to take ownership of their lives with optimism and responsibility, without the burden of unnecessary judgment. We can lead by example, showing that wisdom doesn't always need a voice. Instead, it's in our restraint, our understanding, and our thoughtful guidance that we offer the most profound lessons. Through silence, we teach the next generation compassion, patience, and how to live without the shadow of past regrets. This quiet wisdom becomes our most valuable legacy, one that encourages a more fulfilling and compassionate life. If you found this message inspiring, we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below, and let us know how silence has shaped your own relationships. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your family and friends, and support us by subscribing to our channel. Your engagement helps us continue bringing more meaningful and valuable content. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts.